Welcome to this video. Most fundamentals in science indicate and prove that the origin of all humans are the Amerinds and the Americas. Further, there is a significant amount of important genetic differences between Amerinds and the rest of the world. Several of these mostly genetic differences are listed further in this video. These profound and essential differences are ever more recognized by scientists, but not recognized or verified by consensus. That could mean that most of the people that live today will never know who their ancestors were and are, where they come from, or understand the importance of this. Further, the differences between Amazon Amerinds and all other humans are so profound, essential, and systematic that they cannot be explained by evolution, drift or any standstill in Beringia or anywhere else, except the Americas as a whole. Further, there must have been a tremendous time of isolation of the Americas and the Amerinds from their descendants all over the world. Further, there is a reason for this one-directional isolation other than distance, and it certainly is not because the Americas were not populated, because they were indeed significantly populated by Amerinds, and as said exactly that Amerind population is proven to be the ancestor of all humans. The reasons for such one-directional isolation are explained in other videos and ebooks of mine. Such a directional isolation of the Americas is something totally different than that there were no Amerinds at all until the Holocene, as was and still is supposed by consensus. This while consensus negates the fundamentals in science that tell totally otherwise. Fundamentals in science indicate that Amerinds are very old and much older than, for instance, mitochondrial Eve and the mitochondrial haplogroup L, which are estimated by consensus to exist since around 200,000 years ago and as such quite young in the context of human evolution. Consensus should consult the fundamentals and fund scientists to do what they should do, and that is researching and concluding based solely on fundamentals in science rather than on what consensus suggested since very long. Regardless of this, all fundamentals already in place and researched indicate that the origin of all humans are the Amerinds and the Americas. Again, all the results of the fundamentals and consequently the fundamentals themselves are systematically negated by consensus, this at least for decades. That more or less means that scientists are not sufficiently funded to research the fundamentals that indicate for many years that the Amerinds and the Americas are the origin of all humans. This of course prejudices science and humanity. As said, this way we possibly will never know where we descend from, this while reports, indications and conclusions of science already in place are very clear. All humans come from or more correctly descend from Amerinds and the Americas. We also are at risk that we will never know our full history and what it could teach us. 1. About solving our problems. 2. About staying healthy and thrive, or 3. To take care of our planet the best way. All this is extensively presented in other videos of my main channel. There are separate and additional channels with speech and titles in the next languages: English, Portuguese, Dutch, Spanish and French. Once accepting the fundamentals and the fact that Amerinds exist for a very long time, all paradigms solve, and it would become feasible or even easy for the general public to understand who they are and who their ancestors are, and even how their ancestors became their ancestors and turned over the world and became the modern humans as we know them today. Further, probably only after accepting the fundamentals. The DNA test that so many people invest in will be able to give the correct answers. All paradigms related to consensus will be solved. A significant number of fossils of Amerinds of over hundreds of thousands of years and possibly much more were found also in the Americas, however systematically negated by consensus, supposedly because they are too modern and not at all based on fundamentals. Fundamentals prove that the Amerinds of over hundreds of thousands of years had to be modern, simply because they were the direct ancestors of all modern humans. Proof. Simple and simplified proof in 2 steps using only one of the many fundamentals that all prove that the Amerinds and specifically the Amazon Amerinds are the origin of all humans. Please note that most fundamentals in science indicate specifically the Amazon Amerinds as the ancestors of all humans. The Amazon Amerinds are 100% of the recessive blood group O. First step. The only recessive blood group is O. In other words, blood groups A, B and AB are not recessive and rather dominant. That would mean that if the Amazon Amerinds start to mix significantly with the rest of the world, that at least their ancestral recessive blood group would slowly disappear. Being recessive means that in cases a group with a recessive factor like the recessive blood group O mixes, it will become less and less O, and will no longer be 100% of the recessive blood group O. If the Amerinds would come or descend from Asia as consensus supposes and claims, it would be impossible for them to surpass the frequency of dominant blood groups of the parts of Asia they are claimed to have mixed with. All Amazon Amerinds are the only group 100% blood group O, and consequently never mixed or never were the result of an external population. According to consensus, the ancestors of all Amerind should have crossed all of Asia and have mixed with Neanderthal and Denisovans. Asia is dominated by the lowest blood group O frequencies of all the world, and a pure blood group like that of the Amazon Amerinds cannot be a result of any region or any mixing in Asia, and also cannot come from Africa that is not 100% blood group O. Second step. For those that still have doubts, the unique blood group O characteristic for the Amazon is different from the blood group O of the Amerinds and does not exist and never existed outside of the Americas. This means that no external population and not even drift from mixed blood group to 100% recessive blood group O can support the consensus theory. So this one fundamental already is a double proof against any external populating of the Americas, or any mixing of the ancestor which is the Amazon Amerind with any external group. DNA of the Amazon Amerind is present in significant amounts in all continents of the world. Further, the DNA of the Amazon Amerind is present in significant amounts all over Eurasia, including Europe, the Americas, Indonesia, Australia, Oceania and also Africa. All fundamentals prove that the origin of that DNA lies in the Americas and more specifically in the Amazon basin. List of fundamentals. List of fundamentals that prove the Amazon Amerind is the ancestor of all humans. 1. Unique blood group O. 2. Unique Diego blood group system. 3. Unique fat digesting gene. 4. Several unique haplogroups that are spread out over all continents and consequently are giants and very significant. 5. Unique jumping gene PV92 that jumped over all continents and over to all of the world. All these fundamental proofs are negated by consensus. Not one fundamental supports the consensus theory, this even while they present the most important scientific markers of ancestrality and migration. The general public has no idea of these facts. You will find these facts graphically presented and explained in detail in my channels and ebooks. Thank you for watching.